Tim's News. Hello, Tim's News. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've got some proof for you that the United Kingdom is being ripped apart. And the only inevitable outcome of that is chaos and violence. And that's what I believe is coming. So listen, guys, before we get into that, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share my stuff, because ultimately it's only your fantastic fingers that help me out when I do this. And when we're spreading the message, spreading the words, spreading the Templars in the chat, it's only you guys that can do that. So I'm going to share with you guys in a minute a news article, if I need to get that up, a news little monologue from Patrick Christie. Now, he's talking about well, I'll let him explain. But what he's saying basically, sorry, let me refresh this screen. What he's saying basically is he's talking about this Chinese super embassy, and he's proposing the question of who's really in control of this country. Like, because it's very difficult it's very difficult if you're looking at the United Kingdom right now. It's very difficult to look inwards in the UK and think, right, are the government making decisions in the best interest of the United Kingdom, or are they just like not? And if you say they're not, then you've got to ask, who are they making decisions in the best interest for? Because it's clearly not random, right? It's clearly not random. We've got Chagos Islands, we've got Ukraine. It seems like Greenland as well. It seems like the government of the United Kingdom are more concerned. Tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like the government of the United Kingdom are literally more concerned about other countries' well-being than they are of their own country. And look, call me whatever you want. I think the British government should work for the British people. I do. That's what I think. I don't think the British government should work for the people of Greenland or Denmark. I don't think that the British government should work for the people of Ukraine or the people of Poland. I don't think that the British government should work for the people of Pakistan or Bangladesh or anywhere else. I think, and call me controversial if you want, call me an extremist. Oh, look at Sean. He's right wing. He thinks that the British government should do what's in the best interest for the people of Great Britain. Now, in today's world, that seems like a controversial trope, right? It seems like a controversial trope. So let's get on with this video. It's quite a long video, so I will be stopping it at various. Let me put the chat on. I will be stopping this video at various points. Craig Mawson over on YouTube is saying, "Hi Sean, I have a question. Do you think Starmer is being paid by China to pass the Chinese super embassy?" Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Craig, because Crag, is it Crag or Craig? It's funny you mentioned that because my video this morning is going to be focusing in sorts on this Chinese super embassy that is being introjected, forced upon us in the United Kingdom. So without further ado, let's just get on with this. I'll share the video and then I'll give commentary. And I have watched this. Because for you, those of you guys who were on yesterday, I shared this girl, what's her name? Amelia. I shared Amelia and I got into trouble. I got into trouble. So anyway, right, let's share this video and I will stop this at various points.
Today proved that Sir Keir Starmer isn't just incompetent, he's actively dangerous for Britain's national security. Yesterday, the man who I think is a serial liar stood before us and said this.
That is why we take the approach that we do.
You know, when I see, does anybody else get this very peculiar feeling when they see Keir Starmer talking?
Because it delivers concrete outcomes in the national interest.
He said he would always act in Britain's national interest. Well, today, he has just approved the Chinese mega embassy. This is despite MI5 saying that it will be impossible to eliminate the security risks, despite it being revealed that there are 208 underground rooms, including a chamber directly over the cables that lead to the City of London.
So I didn't realize that this chamber was directly over these cables. I thought it was, I knew it was close to the cables. So now you've got to understand, right? When these embassies are built, that then becomes Chinese Chinese, that then becomes China, right? You're like, the people from the British government are not allowed in there. That's the reality. They're not allowed. Yes, of course they can go in with force, but that is part of China then, and it's just an international thing. You don't fuck about with other people's embassies, right? So now consider this, all right? China are building their new embassy that Britain will have no jurisdiction over. And look, guys, let's be clear. Britain will absolutely not break any rules or bend any rules, because they don't. Because if they would have done that, they would have stopped the boats, right? So you have this situation now where the Chinese embassy is being built, as per this article, over these cables that, like, maybe millions of people's information is going in and out of London. That gives them direct access. And look, I'm not saying that the Chinese are going to drill down or cut into those cables and just have an alternate server where everything goes to. Of course not. That would be illegal, and I know the Chinese would never do that. But some people might speculate that they would. I don't know. What do you guys think?
And that carry millions of people's personal emails every single day. I think China will obviously use it to spy on us. They've previously hacked all our diplomatic cables. The Chinese are believed to have installed listening devices in British military vehicles. And then, of course, there was the Chinese spy scandal, the case against two men accused of spying for China. Obviously, they deny those allegations, but Sir Keir Starmer was accused of collapsing that case.
You can see a pattern now, right? You know, when I talk to you guys about pattern recognition, you know, I usually talk to you about pattern recognition with crime in the United Kingdom. And if you look on the streets, you have certain patterns evolving with certain types of crime. You know, you can, you know, and we were talking yesterday about AI being used to predict crime before it happens. And people are saying it's a bad thing. I was like, well, I can predict crime before it happens. I can go and look at people and say what crime they're more likely to commit. You know, obviously, you know, in the realms of probabilities. So if you start to see pattern recognition with Keir Starmer, like the question right at the beginning of this chat was, do we think people have been paid off? I think it's more complicated than that. But in, you know, pattern recognition, what do you guys think?
It will also drive another nail into the coffin of our relationship with President Trump's America. Talking of which, today, President Trump has called Starmer stupid over the Chagos Islands giveaway. He released this statement. Shockingly, our brilliant NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, the site of the US military base, to Mauritius, and to do so for no reason whatsoever. There is no doubt that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness. The UK giving away extremely important land is an act of great stupidity and is another in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Right. Well, do you remember when David Lammy said this?
If President Trump doesn't like the deal will not go forward.
Listen, whenever I want to know what's happening in UK politics, I will always try and find what David Lammy is saying. You know, and you know, it's just a lot easier for me to find out what David, you know, rather than listen to the other politicians and all their fakery and their flim-flammering. If I want to know what's happening, I just listen to David Lammy. And then the opposite will be happening.
And the reason for that is because we have a shared military and intelligence interest with the United States. And of course, they've got to be happy with the deal or there is no deal.
Well then, surely.
He's very animated, isn't he? He's very animated when he's talking like that. I don't know if there's something psychologically like in that, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about people being over animated like that when they're talking. If we was in a meeting, if I was in a meeting and he was a guy the other side, he would appear to be nervous, right, when he's talking. When he's talking like that and he's over animated and he's laughing overtly about things that are not really funny. I would say that guy's over nervous. Now, there's a lot of reasons why that guy could be over nervous. You know, he may just be looking at my fantastic hair and he may be thinking, wow, that hair is fantastic. And that guy's in his mid-40s. Jesus, you know. They broke the mold with Raven. That may be the case. There also may be a more nefarious reason why he is nervous, or she.
The deal's off, isn't it? Not if you listen to Labour's Darren Jones. Remember, this is the guy that thought everyone coming across on small boats were women and children, despite having eyes and being able to see that isn't the case. But anyway, he's been accused of lying or being misleading on social media after this today.
Is the best way to secure the future.
I understand that point. I understand where we got to it.
Sorry, can you remember this? Not this guy, hang on.
And the House of Lords is still with them, and it's still in Parliament. My question to you is a very specific one. Is there no further possibility of backtracking from this position?
I'm not entirely.
Okay, so this guy here, can you guys remember? I think he was on Question Time. And he blatantly said in front of cameras, he said, when you see that the vast majority of people coming over on small boats are women and children, and I was like, did he just say that? Did he actually just say that? So, when I talk about people potentially bending the truth and potentially being paid and, democracy's over, somebody voted for this guy. Literally, people voted for this guy. How? And this goes back to what I was saying yesterday. I don't think everybody should be able to vote. I don't. I think at a bare minimum, if you've paid tax, that whole parliament or that whole sitting thing, I think you should be able to vote. If you're on the, if you're working and you're paying tax through your employer, or if you're, and you know what? I think small business owners, I think they should get 2 votes. I do. I think small business owners should get 2 votes because they're the real innovators, right?
Entirely sure how I can see that happening, given that the legal treaty has already been signed, and as I say, the legislation is nearly finished. Is the British government's view that for Diego Garcia, that is the best way to protect that?
Honestly, I would love to debate these people. I would love to debate these people. I would use words like buffoonery. Good sir, if I may I put it to you that the word buffoonery is lacking from your vocabulary?
It's a classic case of someone sounding intelligent, but actually, really, obviously being very stupid, because the treaty has not been ratified. Of course we can cancel it. But the ultimate humiliation for Sir Keir Starmer.
And when we talk about laws and legislation and, laws and legislation and the Rights Act and this act and that act, first of all, none of them, they're all worthless unless they're backed up by violence. Secondly, they were written by men. Men can unwrite them. Trust me, guys. All right. People can rip those documents up and say, yeah, we're good with that. We don't want to deal with that one anymore. It's fascinating how we destroy ourselves for these little bits of paper with words on them. It's ridiculous.
That would be this. The rumour this evening is that Trump might just buy the Chagos Islands off Mauritius, meaning that Sir Keir Starmer would have given away a vitally important piece of British sovereign territory for absolutely nothing. I mean, good grief. Only a government that was seriously stupid or seriously compromised by China.
Okay, so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, guys, okay? Now we're getting into the compromisation and the, the potential subversion and the potential, payoffs, by foreign states. Millman on TikTok is saying, in a world full of corruption within politics and government, do you think our votes matter? Yes, I do. If we vote, I do actually. Yeah, I do. So basically the question is, I will read it again. In a world full of corruption within politics and government, and this is a question on TikTok, do you think our votes matter? Yes, I do. But the problem is, have you seen there's a Simpsons episode where there's 2 aliens and they come down and they take over the next US election. And, there's, I can't remember what they're saying, basically. They're like these green aliens and they've got like this tank on them. And they're saying, we want to harvest and suck your blood. And the other one's saying, we want to suck your blood, then harvest you. and they're running up for election, and the people are saying, "Oh, who do I vote for? I don't want to waste my vote. Who should I vote for? I know they're both bad, but which one's the least bad?" So that's kind of the situation we're at right now. We don't have anybody of any competency, in the political system, because it's so far gone. It is so far gone. So do I think voting matters? Yes. I think it does. But it's a bit more complicated than just, does voting matter? Because I can't think of a better system.
Would behave in this way. Now, one thing is for sure, Sir Keir Starmer is not acting in our national interest. He hasn't done it over Chagos. He hasn't done it over the Chinese mega embassy or over illegal immigration, Islamist extremism, the Pakistani rape gangs, the economy. He hasn't acted in our best interest when it comes to our energy bills, the education system, small businesses, farmers, pensioners, pub landlords. Who the heck is our Prime Minister working for?
So there's the question, ladies and gentlemen. Who the heck is our Prime Minister working for? Who the heck indeed? Right. Millman on TikTok is saying it's very complex, but I think our votes are rigged. So just quickly, Millman on TikTok, I've been to quite a few of these elections where you're counting the votes, and it's very difficult to swizzle votes through. The system might be corrupt, but the system of voting, like when you put your vote in that ballot box, it's like it's guarded with lock and key. And there are people from Conservatives, neutral observers, all different parties. They're all literally stood over the boxes, taking notes and stuff. Well, that's my experience of it anyway. So yes, you've got things like postal votes. Yes, you've got block voting. Yes, you've got a very peculiar situation in the United Kingdom where you don't have to show any identification to vote. So all these things make the system flawed. But where you go and count the votes, from what I've seen, it would be very difficult to rig that. Right, let me jump onto the chat on YouTube. But there's the question, ladies and gentlemen: who the heck is in charge of our country? Because, like Patrick Christie said then, and I will share that last that last 2 minutes, or that maybe last minute. I will share that last minute again, where he runs down all the things that are going wrong. Right. Templar Matt is saying, with voting, we are damned if we do and damned if we don't. I think you're right. Christendom Defender is saying on YouTube, is saying America needs Greenland to save Western civilization. Look, you know how there's all this flim-flammering at the moment? There's all this flim-flammering. Millman on TikTok is saying Starmer works for the WEF and the Fabian Society. Again, it would be difficult to argue with that. Keir Starmer he's a renowned Fabian. We love those Fabians. I love Fabians. I couldn't eat a whole one. With Greenland, right? Day one, week one, I said to you guys, look, there's going to be no such ridiculous concept of military intervention into Greenland. It's so absurd. I said, what's going to happen is Trump's going to offer them a load of money, and that's going to be it. That is literally going to be it. You will see over the next couple of weeks, you will start to see people in Greenland saying, well, maybe being American wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, because he's paying you. I think so. For those of you guys who don't know, the United States have offered Denmark, I think 7, or is it 6? It's either 6 or 7 billion. It might be 7. I don't know. It's a lot of money. Not in the grand scheme. Or is it? No, it's 700. No, sorry. I got that wrong. The United States have offered the United States have offered Denmark 700 billion for the Chagos, not the Chagos. God, there's so many islands up for grabs. The United States have offered Denmark $700 billion for Greenland. They've also made an offer to each and every person in Denmark, as I understand it, for $100,000. Now, I think that offer will go up. I think $100,000 for each person. I think they're lowballing that. I do. I think that is a lowball offer. I think I think 175 gets it. I think 175 is a fair offer, 175,000 to everybody in Denmark. Think about it, right? Just literally think about it, right? What are the Danish government giving to the people of Greenland? What are they providing? I don't know. I would say not much. $175,000 to each person in Greenland. That's going to pay off a huge chunk of your mortgage, right? That's like your house paid for, more or less, right? So when people in Greenland are paying their bills every month and they're going to work and they're coming back and they're having to pay their mortgage, that 175 grand, that's going to be a big, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's worth moving to Denmark. Maybe it's worth moving to Greenland. So I do think that's going to happen. I just think he's going to buy it. Ultimately, I think he's going to buy it. I think the people of Greenland, we're all seeing these protests and these, we don't want to be American. Say no to American imperialism. I'll buy your house. Maybe American imperialism's not that bad. Maybe, okay, you would. I know I would. Right, listen, guys, as a show of hands in the chat, right, just as a little thought experiment, right? If Donald Trump said to you, here, wherever you are in the world, you're now, let me pay for your house and you become American. You'd be like, I mean, for me, I'd be like, is there a negative to this? So where would you go with that? Like, honestly, would you prefer to stay British, keep your pound, have no constitution, have no legal framework to oppose the government, question who the government really works for, keep paying your bills, keep paying your taxes, or would you take the US dollar, pay your house off, and at least you don't have to pay, at least you don't have to worry about your mortgage bills, right? Where would people go with that? Mark is fine. He's saying the Danish government sterilized what? No way. That's dark, dude. That is dark. Right, give me a second. Okay. Mark is fine. Is saying the Danish government sterilized the women and girls of Greenland in the past. Look into it. Right. Okay. Look, guys, I never know about the comments I'm getting up here. If that's the case, they don't want a big population on Greenland. And if that's the case, they don't want expansion in Greenland. And I'm thinking aliens, guys. I'm going straight aliens. I am going straight to aliens. Right. Let me just Google this. Wow. Jesus. Right. I'm in a rabbit hole. And it's not a good one. Right. Listen, look, guys, I never know what I'm going to get on the chat. I never know what I'm going to get on the chat. I'll always give you, I'll always give everyone time of day. This has hit me like a bombshell. So I've just asked AI, and this is wild. I don't know why people are not talking about this. Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. So I just asked AI, and this is wild. This is going to get dark. Did Denmark sterilize the women and girls of Greenland? And AI is saying yes. Denmark ran a systematic government-approved birth control in Greenland in the 60s and 70s, which thousands of Inuit women and girls were fitted with got a word I can't pronounce here. An IUD. I'm sure girls will know what that means. An IUD without their knowledge or consent. While the program was primarily a form of forced contraception, Many women suffered severe health complications and some were left infertile, effectively resulting in sterilization for those individuals by the beard of Zeus. You know, the more I look in, you know, the more people look. When I think about things like this is like this news right now, I should do a live stream on this on its own. This is like sparking all sorts of different trajectories right now. You know, if you guys want to look into the Danish government, they're pretty, you know, where they come from, they're pretty dark. That is absolute. Honestly, guys, I'm flabbergasted. And the more I look at the, you know, certain things, you know, okay, so hear me out, right? Just hear me out. You know, we're all like looking at China and America and Russia, and these guys are doing that, and these guys are doing that. What if everybody is controlled? What if everybody is under the same? What if everybody's under the same leadership? What if there isn't any countries? You know, what if this perception of Russians and Americans and Brits and Europeans and, you know, Macron with his aviator glasses on, you know, what if all that is a lie? What if there really is just already a one world government? Just nobody's the perception of choice is there. That is crackers, guys. That is absolutely crazy. Thank you for that, Mark. Fine. I didn't realize. Christian Defender is saying Europe will pay for Greenland. US tariffs on NATO will pay America to save Western civilization. And Odin's eye. Denmark, leave the women alone. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. One leader to rule them all, and in the darkness. It started with the forging of the great rings. 3 were given to the elves, wisest and fairest of all. 7 to the dwarf lords, great craftsmen and miners. And 9 were given to the race of men, who above all else desire power. But they were all of them deceived, for there was a master ring. And in the darkness, Sauron poured his malice into the ring. And one by one, the free lands of Middle-earth fell to the power of the ring. But there were some who resisted. A final alliance of elves and men marched against the armies of Mordor, and on the very slopes of Mount Doom fought for the freedom of Middle-earth. I love Lord of the Rings, guys. I do. I will go full Lord of the Rings. Anytime you guys want, I will go full Lord of the Rings. Woke fatigue is saying, what if it's been that way for decades? Yeah, I think woke fatigue is talking about. Woke fatigue is talking. Is saying what I just said there is, what if there is. Millman is saying. First of all, Millman 2221 on TikTok is saying, great comment from Mark. It was, guys. I didn't realize that. And then he's saying, you tie everything to Lord of the Rings. I don't think that's a negativity. Woke fatigue on YouTube is saying, what if it's been like that for decades? So, and again, the more I do, so first of all, look, when I started doing these videos, I was doing guns, tanks, bombs, trains, planes, military stuff. And then, because I've never really worked in the United Kingdom. I've always worked overseas, basically, foreign countries and stuff. So when I started to look inward from what I know about externally and how other countries work, you know, I'm seeing massive amounts of subversion in the United Kingdom. They are like, it's phenomenal. You know, like this girl, Amelia, she's absolutely 100% state-sponsored subversion. not Britain, whoever's doing the subverting. And this, it literally ties me back to the moon landing, right? So if you, and I've said this quite a few times, and I've shared the videos of the moon landing. And one of the things I always say about the moon landing is, if it was faked, and I'm not saying it was, but I totally accept that looking back at the moon landing videos now, they're absolutely ridiculous. It is. They're so ridiculous. It's quite funny, actually, how ridiculous the moon landing videos are. I always say, right, if the moon landings were faked, then the Russians must have been in on it, because there's, what was that, 69? Because the Russians will have definitely had the radar telemetry equipment to track those craft and to monitor those airwaves and to see what was happening. So if the moon landing was faked, then the Russians were in on it. So that's like as far back as you go with that. So if you think the moon landings were faked, what you're saying is the Russians are in on it. And if the Russians have been on it since 1965 or whatever, they're clearly still in on it now, right? Captain Dan has joined on TikTok. Kimberly Susanna. Hello, Kimberly Susanna. Mills, Patricia Nell. Share the live as well. Thank you so much. And the Awakening Star has joined as well. Listen, you guys on TikTok, I am going to close you guys down pretty soon, and I'm going to continue this live stream on YouTube. If you want to jump over there, you're more than welcome. I'm open. The chat's open. A couple of reasons. First of all, I want to have my coffee, and if I drink coffee on TikTok, I get restricted. And also, I've got a few more videos to share, and I might get myself restricted or even banned on TikTok by sharing them, because the algorithm is very, it's quite cruel. It's quite cruel. The algorithm is quite cruel. So I will be closing you guys down in like maybe 2 minutes on TikTok. Woke Fatigue is saying again, that's George Orwell's gravestone in my profile pic. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Do you know what? I was going to ask you who you've got in your profile picture. Yeah, I mean, look, George Orwell, he, in his book, 1984, he predicted a two-world order, or a two-world, or potentially a one-world government with a two-state solution, in the context that you've got these two superpowers and they're a constant state of war, because when you produce stuff for war, it just gets destroyed. And that time, money, effort, human labor, ingenuity that goes into that production, it results in nothing. You get nothing from it. You get a kaboomer. James is saying the Russians were in on it. They were the Russians were in on it. They were starving, and the US gave them hundreds of tons of food, wheat, rice, etc. Lowbro is saying, Raven, look up Peace and Light Crew camps. Peace and Light Crew. All right, let me see what's happening here. Is this one of these Muslim? I think this is one of those. Is this one of those Muslim I think it's one of those Muslim like men's getaway things. Right, is this it? Oh no, it's definitely not. Oh, I've seen this. Is this guy who's pretending to be the Antichrist? Right, okay. Is this the thing? Is this what I'm talking about here? So is this it here? Yeah, I think he's just I think he just wants likes and shares. So in England, parents are moving their children into a doomsday cult with a man calling himself the new pope. The Ahmadi religion of peace and light and its leader, Abdullah Hashem, are converting thousands into believers from an old orphanage in Crewe. According to Islamic legend, the Messianic figure known as the Mahdi Sounds very June. I love June. They could have done a lot more with June. I thought I really had big expectations for June, but it didn't do it. So the Mahdi will appear. Mahdi, am I saying that right? Mahdi. The Mahdi. The Mahdi will appear before Judgment Day. I thought Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to appear before Judgment Day, but the Mahdi will appear before Judgment Day to vanquish injustice and tyranny and usher in an era of peace across the world before the apocalypse. Abdullah Hashem, a beanie hat wearing American Egyptian, running what can only be described as a quasi-Islamic doomsday cult based out of a former orphanage in the north of England. I might go up and have it's not that far away, crew. I might go up and see if I can get a chat with him. He claims to be the Mahdi. And for good measure, the new pope, if you want to join him, you'll have to cash in your home and give him all your money. Oh, right. Okay. Seems legit. We are looking, I think this is what they're saying. We are looking for people who are willing to sell their homes and come to be among the community and to follow me. Not waver or want to leave once you've come. Wow, this is like a cult, right? We are looking for people who want to sell, guys, I'm reading this, all right? Who want to sell their homes and come to be and live among the community and to follow me, not to waver or want to leave once you have come. Like, what if you need to go to the toilet or something? Are you like, yeah, you know what, this whole cult thing, I'm good with it. Hasham says in one piece of in-house propaganda from earlier this year, wearing his black beanie so low it casts dark shadows over his eyes. More bluntly, he compares himself to Jesus and says he wants people that will love him and willing to a word I can't use on the live chat. It's to give up all. To establish a divine and just state. I think he's just cashing in, guys. I genuinely think he's just cashing in. And look, a fool and his money is easy parted. So that's what I think that is. That the Mahdi, the Mahdi. Right, listen, guys. You guys on TikTok. I'm going to close you guys down. Oh, Martin Quinn is. Oh, hang on. Martin Quinn is saying he will get everybody following them, get them all in a warehouse, and oh, right, yeah. I can't say that, Martin Quinn. I can't repeat what you're saying. They will give all the money to him and all the property, and he will leave them in the lurch. I think that's a more polite way of putting it. Right, you guys on TikTok. I'm going to close you guys down now. You've been fantastic. I just like reading the names as they come up. I love it. There's some fantastic TikTok names. So I will be closing you guys down on TikTok. If you've not done so already, hit the buttons up there, the like, comment, the follow, the subscribe buttons. That really helps me out. I'll be continuing this live stream now over on YouTube. I will. So I bid you good evening or good morning, whatever time of day it is. And then I'll be having some coffee. Finally, I can have some coffee. Are we off? Yeah, we're off. Darren is saying Waco, Texas again. Yeah, it does seem crazy, right? It seems crazy that you can, it seems crazy that, I mean, look, if people are willing, if people are willing to, sell their house, give all the money to some random guy in a beanie hat, giggity. Who's the real crook here? Who's the real fool, right? Who's the real fool? Daddy Cool? If somebody's willing to sell their house, right, and go give all their money to some guy in a beanie hat on the internet, I don't know. Who's the real fool? Sean, your title is bang on. Yes, thank you very much, Kev Mills. Thank you very much, Kev Mills. Right, let's get back on track, ladies and gentlemen, because chaos and violence is coming. And I've got proof that the United Kingdom is being ripped apart, and there's literally no way to stop it. At the beginning of this live stream, I shared a full video by Patrick Christie. I'm going to share the last minute of that video now because it was quite a long video. But what I want people to do is I want people to understand just how bad the situation is. And the question is this: who is our government working for? Like, who's in charge of the country, and what is there, and what are they trying to do? And I've said this many times, and I don't think it's controversial to say that I think that the people, the government of Britain should put British people first. It seems like the government are more concerned about the borders and the boundaries of Greenland, of Ukraine, of any other country, basically, apart from the United Kingdom. It really does seem like that. So I think Patrick Christie articulates this well. So let's just. Right, I'm going to share with you guys I'm going to share it from here. It's just over a minute. So let's listen to this last minute.
British sovereign territory for absolutely nothing. I mean, good grief. Only a government that was seriously stupid or...
So this is where I wanted to watch it from. So what he's saying there is only a government that is seriously stupid or massively compromised. Which one do you think it is? I mean, you could argue those two things are hand in hand, right? And I'll tell you how this works actually in a little bit.
Seriously compromised by China would behave in this way. Now, one thing is for sure, Sir Keir Starmer is not acting in our national interest. He hasn't done it over Chagos. He hasn't done it over the Chinese mega embassy or over illegal immigration, Islamist extremism, the Pakistani rape gangs, the economy. He hasn't acted in our best interest when it comes to our energy bills, the education system, small businesses, farmers, pensioners, pub landlords. Who the heck is our Prime Minister working for?
So I think that's a fair question. I'll share that last bit again at the end of, right before I close the live stream down. But I think it's a fair question to ask. Now, I gave the, in fact, it wasn't me, was it? It was, I can't remember who it was. Basically, right, if you gave a monkey, if you put a monkey, right, if you got a monkey, a chimpanzee, if you had a chimpanzee, if you put if you gave a chimpanzee a little suit, and I think he'd look quite cute. If you put a chimpanzee in a suit and put him in the dispatch box, he would be a better prime minister than Keir Starmer. Why? Because at least by accident, he may make the right decision. He may make the right decision. Because, if you present a chimpanzee with 3 envelopes and, you've got 2 bad ideas and 1 good idea, so you've got 2 bad policies and 1 good policy, just by luck, the chimpanzee hitting it. Which one do you want to choose? That one, Just by luck, that chimpanzee would get, would choose the right one some of the time. Whereas this government, it seems like every decision they're making, what's that decision? Oh, is it detrimental to the United Kingdom? Will it cost us billions? And will it be an absolute nail in the coffin politically? Yes, all 3 of those. Right, we'll do it. What's that decision over there? Oh, it will actually bring money, resources, and prosperity into the United Kingdom. It will be political dynamite because everybody will cheer for this. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic for people in this country, and we're getting really good value for money. No, we're good with that. Put that one in. Put that one as a back burner. Maybe later for that one. Kev Mills is saying the dismantling of the United Kingdom started with, it did. It absolutely did. And people don't understand this. Kev Mills is saying the dismantling of the United Kingdom started with Labour as soon as Blair threw the doors open. Gordon Brown sold off all our gold cheap. That was the first treasonous act. Yeah, it was. But listen, at that time, right? At that time, nobody cared because everybody was having a good time, right? And these things take time to fall in place. So back in the, what was it, 96, 97? 96, 97, when there was things were in the late in the 80s and in the early 90s. Things were cool. Everything was cool. Everybody was happy. Everybody was having a good time. People were too busy to notice, these smaller things. But now we're in a state where there's no going back. The doors have been opened a long time. Darren Lamont is saying, same as every country in the West except one, the United States. Now Trump's in charge. I still think Trump's a perception. We'll see. And I think he's great. I think he's doing a lot of good stuff for America. I think he's doing a lot of good stuff for America. Martin Quinn is saying, I was in Bradford last week. There was an incident. To be honest, it was like San Diego. Have you seen that video? I think it's in South Shields. There's a police officer and he's being chased by this guy. And he shanks him up in his face. And I'm like, oh, right, that's just how we're going right now. Debbie Doobs is saying, Trump is putting America first, but I still don't want a US takeover. All right, that's interesting. So, Debbie, Debbie, what would your main concerns be about a US takeover? And again, I'm biased because I've got lots of friends who live in America. America is one of the places I potentially go and live. So what would you be hesitant over if there was a US takeover? What would you fear? Do you know what I mean? What would you be scared of? What is the thing that you would say, you know what? Things are bad, but I prefer it like it is now because I don't want that. So what would that be? Sorry, I'm just jumping up the... Louise Gavin is saying, no, I think he's smarter than you think, Kristen. Sean is low IQ. All right, okay, so Sean is low IQ Sean is low IQ to be at A, but he's funny. I don't know, right? I don't know what you guys are talking about. What does that mean? Sean is low IQ. Okay, Sean is low. I am low. So are you saying I'm a low IQ? Are you saying I'm a low IQ AI? Is that what you're saying? Monokrov is saying, the main fear I would have is companies taking everything up and over. See, I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't. The main fear I would have would be American companies taking everything up. We don't have anything. What would you be afraid of Americans taking? What are you like? Jaguar and Land Rover, they're Indian, I think. Are they Indian? I think Jaguar Land Rover's Indian now. I think Aston Martin's American anyway. I'm pretty sure Rolls-Royce is owned by an American company as well. So, what companies are you talking about? Are you talking about Dave and Linda's fish and chip shop? What would you be that doesn't even make sense. My main fear would be American companies taking everything up and over. That I don't what does that mean? Most of our companies are going anyway. They're going to places like India and China. Here's the thing, right? Okay. So just use the water companies, for example. All our water companies are already foreign owned. All our nuclear power, most of our nuclear power is owned by the French and the Americans. So we don't have that. Like, what are we afraid of giving away? We've given it all away already. Especially when Trump said American companies would be able to just come around to Venezuela and swoop everything up. Not that they're nationalized. Like what though? Like, you know, are you afraid that, you know, the United States take what? I don't understand what you're saying they're going to take. Majority of it boils down to it being closed down to more than anything. Right. Okay. I don't think that's a threat at all, guys. I really don't think that's a threat at all. Look at what happened in Eastern Europe when Germans began taking up most of the Polish and Czech companies, etc. Like, if you go to Poland, okay, so that's not even an argument, Monokrov. If you go into Poland now, where would you rather live? England, Britain, or Poland? Like, I would rather, honestly, Poland's beautiful. I was there so is the Czech Republic. Like, go and look at the GDP of Poland and the Czech Republic. So that argument is, that's like a counter argument. You're arguing against yourself. There's mass poverty in America. There's mass poverty everywhere. There's mass poverty in the United Kingdom as well. Absolutely mass poverty in the United Kingdom. You know, go and look at literally, like, you know, everywhere. Like, what is it? I think 20% of children live under the poverty line in the United Kingdom. So if that's not mass poverty in the United Kingdom anyway, you know, I don't know what is. Have you seen what they put in American food? We don't need that here. Why would you think that would come here? Like, why would you think, and again, so what, listen, so when I used to, work in the Middle East, I used to go and eat at the American, hey buddy, you going to the defect? I used to go and eat at the American dining facilities, and one of the things I always used to laugh about is they have this thing, and it's called genuine American imitation Swiss cheese. And it doesn't even, I don't even know what it is. It just feels like plastic. But yeah, but why would you think that would come here? We would still have our own laws, our regulations, our own, you know. Right, listen, guys, let me throw this out there again. So chaos and violence is coming. Now, I just shared with you guys, and I will share it one more time before I close this live stream down. Literally everybody on the chat saying, like, people are all saying Poland on the chat, Poland. So, like, to argue that what America did with Poland was terrible when everybody would want to go to Poland, it's not really an argument. Look how wealthy, look how fantastic a Poland is now. I wouldn't want the Americans doing that too. Or that's not an argument. That's totally, that's a totally counter argument. Anyway, look, guys, chaos and violence, that is what's on its way to the United Kingdom. And the proof that the United Kingdom is being ripped apart is the video that I just shared with you. Who is Keir Starmer working for? Who are our government working for if they're not working for us, the public? And there's this air of arrogance about them, right? And I don't know what they know behind the scenes. I don't know if Keir Starmer looks in the mirror. I don't know if they... Look, and let's be clear, the government are clearly not in charge. It's whoever's paying the bills. But who really is in charge, and where does this lead? Every day, more people turn up to the United Kingdom. Every day, these people are not, they're not assimilated. They would not identify as British. In fact, heck, some of them may even say, I hate Britain. Some people are saying that there are sleeper cells flying over, sailing over, coming to the United Kingdom. So when does this end? How does this end? There are masses and masses and masses, and you guys are getting bombarded with it literally every day. You are being bombarded with it. This AI girl, Amelia, what's her name? Amelia, I think she's got purple hair or something. Next time you watch one of these Amelia videos, right? Just consider how sophisticated that was. Like, how sophisticated that was. everything they're saying. That is a sophisticated attack. And look, I'll be quite clear. I think she's great. What she's saying is fantastic. You've also got to understand that we have got peer adversaries, near peer adversaries, blasting in cyber warfare, and this is happening right now, and they are blasting this cyber warfare in because they want a civil war in the United Kingdom, and that's the reality. It's Britain's being ripped apart. We're being primed for a hostile takeover, and before the hostile takeover, we're going to be in a crisis, and in that crisis, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be violence. It's going to be bonkers. Again, look, guys, I don't mean to be negative to anybody, but Debbie Doobs is saying, I can't see the NHS under American takeover. I don't. Does anybody think the NHS is working? When I go around the world, right? And I'm in, I don't know, wherever. They don't say, let's ask some British doctors. Let's use the British model. They don't. They say, right, we want American doctors. We want to use the American healthcare model. So I think we're being gaslit about how fantastic the NHS is. I think we are, guys. I really do. I believe we are being absolutely gaslit into believing that the NHS is fantastic. I don't think it is. I think it's like my experience of the NHS is not good. I was in, it was when that strep was going around. I think it was like maybe 2-3 years ago or something, maybe even 4. I don't know. Luckily, I've got a lot of friends who are doctors. And I was in Doncaster, right? And I went to Doncaster A&E. Let me qualify this. I've done lots of medical assessments in third world countries, in war-torn countries, in countries in conflict, doing gap analysis for mass casualties, etc. So I do have quite a bit of experience, working in hospitals, and I can see things that should or shouldn't be happening. And when I walked into Doncaster Hospital, it was among the worst hospitals I've ever been to, and that's my professional opinion. First of all, from the get-go, I walked in and I was waiting in the queue, right? I had my daughter in my arms, and she was really bad. She said, "Daddy, I just want to go home," and I needed to get her penicillin. So I knew exactly what I needed to get her. And I got to the front of the queue, the girl at the reception, and you know what she did? She put a sign on saying closed. So I was like, oh, all right. All right. I'll just wait here, shall I? I'll just literally wait here. There was a guy came in and he was standing behind me. He was covered in claret. He was holding his arm. He was going, oh, and there was a queue. There was literally a queue, and she turned a sign and it said closed. Right? She didn't move. She was a big girl. She didn't move. She stayed there, and I shit you not. Do you know what she did? She pulled out a meatball marinara, a 12-incher from Subway, right? So she sat there with this meatball marinara from Subway, and I'm there with my daughter. This guy's behind me. There's a queue of people. And it's not, it's not her fault. She's, and I'm thinking, what the actual fuck is happening? What the actual fuck is happening here? Anyway, so I'm there with my daughter. I waited till she'd finished her meatball marinara. I think she enjoyed it. It was on hearty Italian. And got to the front. Well, I was at the front. Got to the, you know, she then had a little drink of a Pepsi. Then she opened back up again. So I moved. I went down. I said, "Yeah, I need some penicillin." She said, "All right." Now, just that interaction. If that was a private company, that girl would have had remedial training, some training, or she would have had the sack. Because that's not how shit works in the private, in the private sector. But because the NHS get their money regardless, and do you know what actually happens to that hospital, to a hospital in the UK if it's failing? They give them more money. It's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm all for privatization of the NHS. I am, guys. I think the NHS needs privatization. Right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me did she have a Subway cookie as well? I don't know if she had a cookie. I don't know if she had a cookie. I can't 12 inches. She was hungry. She was real hungry. Was it a diet Pepsi? Do you know what? I don't know. It might have been a Coke. I don't know. It was a carbonated. It was a carbonated drink in a can. French system seems to work better than the NHS too. Look, guys, when it comes to the NHS, I honestly think that we are being gaslit into people thinking that it's people thinking that the NHS is some sort of like fantastic system. If you go like. I honestly, I was in Baghdad, right? Iraq. How bad do you think the hospitals are going to be in Iraq, right? How bad do you think they are? They're going to be, they're going to be terrible, and they're going to be, all this terrible stuff. Some of them are. My friend had, I think he did something on his shin or something. Anyway, he said, right, go to the hospital in Baghdad. So he went to the hospital in Baghdad, right? So straight off the street into the hospital, right? No queuing, no waiting, no referrals. He went in. Honestly, guys, this is my experience of Baghdad Hospital. He went in, off the cuff, he said, "Hey, I think I've got like a fracture in my shin or something." The doctor said, "Oh, okay. Do you want to pay for an MRI?" So he's like, "Well, how much is it going to be?" How much do you think an MRI cost in Baghdad Hospital? This is in like maybe 2012 or something. How much do you think it cost for an MRI in Baghdad? $1. He said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, that we've just got to charge something. So that's like the minimum we charge. It's just $1, but we've got to charge something." He said, "So it's $1. He said, "Yes." Bear in mind, I just spent $5 on a can of Red Bull. So he went in, less than 30 minutes, he was getting an MRI on his leg, on his shin, right? There and then, the doctor gave him his results and said, "Yeah, you've got an airline fracture there in your shin. I'd probably just lay off it for a while." Maybe an hour, and it was done. He went from nothing. He went in, he had his MRI, he got his results, he got his diagnosis, and he was gone. That's Baghdad. Guys, has anyone had an MRI in the United Kingdom? What's the procedure? Go and see your doctor. Get a referral to a specialist. Sorry. Phone up at 8. You have to go in. You have to go in like the what's it called in the mornings when you're like it's like the lottery in the mornings, right? You've got to phone up. You've got to phone the doctors between 8 and 9. Right? Okay. Right. So you're there. Oh my God, I've got to phone up. You're trying to get the kids ready for school. Yeah, I'm going to wait for the doctor's appointment. Oh, God, it's ridiculous. So if you can't get through at 8 o'clock in the morning and you phone up later, it'll say, "Yeah, you can come and see your GP in 2 weeks." So first of all, you imagine the same problem in the United Kingdom, right? You've got an airline fracture in your shin. You've been running hard. You've not got the right trainers or whatever. You've got an airline fracture in your shin. It happens more than you think. 2 weeks maybe to see your GP, right? Then a referral from you, because your GP, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know about airline fractures in shins, right? So he's going to refer you to a specialist, all right? Maybe in another 2 weeks. So a month's gone by now, all right? Then you go see the specialist. The specialist then refers you for an MRI scan or another scan, all right? That's maybe another 2, 3, 4 weeks. Next thing, like 2 months later, so the whole thing has taken 2 months. Or you can go to Baghdad and pay $1. Which one of those systems do you think's better? Oh, but we shouldn't be paying for that. We shouldn't be paying for the NA. We shouldn't be paying for medical care. I'll let everyone into a little secret, guys. Okay, just little secret. We already pay for the NHS. We just don't have any accountability. They just don't. We just keep giving them money. So look, I totally when people say the NHS is fantastic and it's awesome, I don't think it is, and I've been to a lot of hospitals around the world. Debbie Doobs is saying, I have 2 grandkids who had open heart surgery. One at 5 years old to save his life. The other was born 28 weeks and spent 3 months in ICU. I dread to think how much that would have cost. You see, what people don't and Debbie, thank goodness you're in a developed country that can offer that sort of stuff, because in a third world country that wouldn't be even being offered. But people have medical insurance, right? I would rather, wouldn't you rather choose your medical insurance yourself and choose what treatment you get than just be given, literally just be given? So, I totally understand. But I think we're being gaslit about the NHS. Right, listen, guys, I'm going to close this down, but don't worry. I am going to be back on very soon, guys. I am going to be back on very soon because it's International Beer. Well, it's not International Beer Day, is it? It's Beer Day today. I'm going to be making some beer, so I'm going to do some tutorials for the members. And I'll put that on, and I will put that on afterwards. I'll put that I will put that on for everyone afterwards, or I might do I don't know. I don't even know if I might do a live stream. I don't know. But I'm going to be it is beer day today, basically. So I'll be starting to ferment some beer. I am going to ferment some beer. But anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to close this down. You guys have been fantastic as always. Remember, chaos and violence is coming. Who does the government work for? Who does Keir Starmer work for? I don't know. I will be back on later. I'm going to do a beer video. I may even do another aliens video. And I bid you good morning.